was dead, and his only living male heir was 6 weeks old. The babe was strong, but anything was possible. If the child died before reaching his majority, the English would eat up his holdings, as they had so many in the past several years. They might anyway. Where had the time gone, the McWilliam wondered. It only seemed a short time ago that he had been a young man in his full vigour, ready and eager to bed a hot-blooded wench. Now he was but a broken old man, clutching his faded memories and shattered dreams about him like a tattered cloak, his thin white hair lank upon his bony shoulders. The McWilliam sighed sadly. God help Ireland, for surely no one else would. The Irish stood quite alone, England to one side of them, the open sea on the other. In a way, it was their own fault, for they had no one ruler to rally them, but rather 1,000 petty bickering chieftains, each jealously guarding his own holding, and each making the alliances best suited to himself, not necessarily to Ireland. It was no wonder that the English, with their one strong ruler, could overcome the Irish. Irishmen, 'twas true, would not be conquered by war, but rather by their own weaknesses. Still, and here the McWilliam smiled a dark, grim smile, his beautiful and wilful daughter-in-law was a very powerful woman in her own right. In Ireland, Skye was the chieftainess of the wealthy, sea-going O'Malleys of Innisfana. Even though the O'Malley brothers were grown, they showed no great hurry to take the familial responsibilities their late father had bequeathed them, far preferring, as he had, to stay on their ships. Skye was the one with the head for business. In England, she was the Dowager Countess of Lynmouth, a fine old English title. Her son from that union was the current Earl. True, the golden-haired lad was but 6 years old, but he was the English Queen's godson, and quite in her favour. Even now he was being raised at court, and was Bess Tudor's pet page. The Queen had a weakness for attractive males, even little ones. Yes, the McWilliam thought bitterly. Whatever happened, Skye O'Malley would survive. She had more damned lives than a cat. A solitary tear ran down his worn and wrinkled face. If his son had had her blessed luck, he might be alive today. Dara O'Neill. He silently cursed the day he had ever forced his son into marriage with that cold bitch. Niall had originally been betrothed to her older sister, Seat. That lass had died in an epidemic, but as both the O'Neills and the Burkes were eager for a match between their families, the younger sister had been brought from her convent as a substitute bride. Dara O'Neill had been within a few hours of taking her final vows, and she was a born nun. She had not wanted Niall Burke, she had not wanted any husband, but after a good thrashing from her father, she had done as she was told. The marriage had, of course, been a disaster. Niall had been wildly in love with Skye O'Malley, then the O'Flaherty of Ballyhennessy's wife, and when she was widowed, he was unable any longer to hide that love. His own marriage had been conveniently annulled by Skye's uncle, the Bishop of Connaught, and Dara had hurried gratefully back to her convent. Niall and Skye were then betrothed, but once more the fates had playfully separated them. Skye was captured by Barbary pirates, lost her memory, and endured much before they were finally reunited. Then, however, she was again another man's wife, and had not even recognised Niall. He too had another wife, the unfortunate Constanza, who mercifully died. As for Skye, she also lost her new husband to death, her English husband whom she had loved deeply. By then her memory of Niall had returned, but she had remained true to her Jaspre, and the McWilliam admired her for it. She was a remarkable woman, and he deeply regretted the years she and his son had lost. At last, Skye and Niall had been married. Not, mind you, in any fancy ceremony with gladsome feasting afterward, but by proxy. The bride still mourned her English husband in her English castle, not even aware that her wily uncle, the Bishop of Connaught, had taken advantage of an old law that made him technically head of the family and used that tenuous authority to marry her off. The McWilliam chuckled hoarsely, remembering the deception he and Seamus O'Malley had used to wed the reluctant pair. His son had gone off to England expecting a warm welcome. He had not received it. The stubborn wench...